Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 12 of the Spring Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing a brand new papercraft project to make with your Cricut machine every day for 14 days. If you've got any holographic or shiny or glitter cardstock in your craft stash just begging to be used, this is the project for you. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a little bit of a clear out and I came across one of my favourite books that I used to read growing up. It's called The Star of Kazan, and in it the author describes the most beautiful jewellery pieces, and that got me thinking, wouldn't it be fun to see if we can make jewellery inspired projects with our Cricut machine, but it's all cardstock. I gave it my best shot and here we go. These beautiful insects have been inspired by jewellery made with all different gems and gold and all precious metals, and they're cut entirely from metallic and holographic card to add to their effect. I've used sticky back gemstones for extra detailing to make them look even more special. We've got this lovely butterfly design and a bumblebee, but there's one more too. There's also a dragonfly design to complete the set. These cut really nicely at a small size, so you could add a magnet on the back to turn them into fridge magnets, or you could put them on a greetings card, or you could even treat them like real jewellery and put a little badge on the back so that you can wear them. They're lots of fun to make and a great way of using up your card scraps. Let's get started. This project is part of the 2026 Spring Craft Countdown. Download the cut files for free for the first 24 hours after this video goes live using the links in the video description or by visiting craftwithsarah.com/spring26. After 24 hours, the cut files for this project can be purchased from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 files. Or get the entire Spring Craft Countdown plus 35 extra bonus files from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 bundle. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to do this, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of cutting machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. Here's a list of the materials that you'll need to make these jewellery-inspired insects. First up, you'll need cardstock in all the colours that match the design. If you have metallic, holographic, glitter or otherwise shiny or sparkly card, that does help with giving it that jewellery appearance. There are different types of card that you could use, and they do require 2 different shades of gold, so bear that in mind. I've gone for mirror card, which is really, really shiny. And that comes in all different colours. It's usually white on the back, but that's not a problem for this design. If you don't want to go quite so vibrant, you could use a matte effect metallic instead, or a pearlescent one like this. I haven't used it for my project because I had enough of just the mirror card on its own, but you could also use glitter card for some of the layers too. If you don't have 2 golds, you could use a copper or a rose gold for the darker colour instead. For the other colours within the design, you could perhaps experiment with holographic card, and this comes in different patterns. Again, if you don't have any cardstock will do, but if you've got any of this card lying about that you've been struggling to work out what to do with, this is the project. I've got some mirror card in purple, some mirror and holographic. This is really quite something, and you can get it in all kinds of different colours. There's my camera reflection right there. You could go a bit more subtle with some glitter effect cardstock, and this is also glitter effect, so it's still completely smooth but there's a little bit of sparkle. or go full on sparkle with the glitteriest cardstock you can find. Whatever you want, bring it out for this project. Let's go shiny, shiny, shiny. The great thing about these designs is they are very small, so you won't need a lot of each colour. So if you've got lots of scraps left over from other projects, or if you just have little bits of these hanging around that you weren't sure what to do with, this is the perfect project for using them. To add even more gemstone effect, you can use some sticky plastic gemstones on parts of the design. I've done it for the eyes and the antennas, and also in the middle, and a few extras along the edges as well, like here. Again, these come in all different shapes and sizes. You don't have to include them if you don't have them. They'll look perfectly lovely without them. But if you do, having some gemstones in some different colours and sizes will give you a few options. These are all sticky back gemstones, so they've got adhesive on the back already. But I'm also using some of these, which aren't, but they can just be glued on. Oop, that was open and has just gone everywhere. So if you've got some gemstones that you've had in your craft stash for a while and you didn't know what to use them for, you can get them on this project. You'll also need glue for putting the layers together. My favourite is Barely Art Glue, but I also like Halal. The reason I like these glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. The Barely Art Glue has a really, really thin needle tip on it, which is perfect for these tiny designs, but with the Halal, as that's got a bigger nib, you might want to get a needle tip applicator bottle for it to go in instead. Halal glue is a solvent glue, so it's got a little bit of a smell, whereas the Barely Art Glue doesn't smell. These are optional for this project, but foam squares will help to give your insects a little bit of dimension. I've done something a bit different for this project that I don't normally do, which is the assembly guides included in your download folder that show you the order to stick everything together in have got two versions. One version for if you cut the insects small like this, which uses mostly glue with only a little bit of foam squares, and a version for if you cut them bigger, which uses more foam squares to build up more dimension. You don't need many foam squares when they're this small because, as you can see here on the wing of the butterfly, it gets really thick just because of the layers of cardstock without needing to add to it with foam. There's just a little bit under some of the layers when it's small, but if you were cutting this big, it wouldn't be such a dramatic natural effect, so you would want more foam squares. If you've got a pair of tweezers or something similar, that may be helpful too for putting on the small bits in these designs. Some bits are very tiny and they'll also be helpful for moving the gemstones. However, if you're like me, tweezers will actually be far more of a hindrance than a help because I cannot use tweezers at all. I've tried so many times, so many different types, I cannot get used to it. So I'm just going to be using my hands in this video. But if you're a tweezer person, find your tweezers. You'll also need a light grip or a standard grip cutting mat and the regular blade that comes with your machine. For cutting mirror card and other thick glitter card, the craft board setting is what I tend to use in Design Space. That's craft with a K, but heavy cardstock will also work too. You might need to do a little bit of experimenting to find the exact cut setting that works best for your Cricut. Alright, so that's the materials we'll need. Go ahead and download the file and then we'll start making our beautiful jewellery inspired springtime insects. Here's what the insects look like loaded into Cricut Design Space. Each one is included as a separate SVG file inside your download folder, so you'll need to upload them individually if you want to make all three. They load in at around 4 inches wide, some a little bit smaller, but they all look in proportion when they're cut out. There are some tiny little circles in these designs, for example on the eyes and the antennas. I replaced these on the ones I made with the sticky back gemstones, but if you want to cut the circles, that's absolutely fine, leave those in instead. However, if you will be doing them with the gemstones, you might want to remove those layers so you don't have to cut them. To do that, click on the design and then ungroup it. And then look for those layers and either click them and delete them with the trash can icon or the delete key on your keyboard, or you can click the eye icon next to them on the screen to hide them. So for instance, I could hide those bits on the dragonfly and also the bits on the end of the antennae on the butterfly. And then for my bee, I will be using the gemstones for the eyes and also those 3 little bits on his back. I'll add some other gemstones too over some of the details, but I'll decide on that once they're cut out. To resize any of the insects, make sure the layers are grouped, so if you've ungrouped them, click and drag to select and regroup by pressing the group button again. And then make sure the padlock icon between your width and your height boxes is closed. If yours is open, click it to close it. You can then type either the width or the height, and the other measurement will change in proportion so it still looks correct. However, I will be doing mine at the size they laid in at. So there we go. When you're ready to cut, make sure you connect to your machine up here and then press make. I'm not going to worry about saving this. And that will separate out all the colours. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then you can click and drag to move things about to take up less space on your cardstock. Just make sure when you are moving things that nothing overlaps, such as that, otherwise it's not going to cut out properly. This project is great for using up your card scraps because for many of the colours you'll only need a small amount. When you're happy with how all of your sheets are looking, press continue and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut with your Cricut. If you're new to cutting cardstock with your Cricut, or if you've got a different type of cutting machine, head to craftwithsarah.com/help for separate video tutorials. Here are the pieces of the dragonfly design cut out. I've also done the bee and the butterfly, but I'll show you this one first. Because this is so small, I've had to zoom in as much as my camera can possibly go. So my hands are going to look really, really big in this video, but I thought it was better to be able to show the dragonfly a little bit more close up. So he's only 4 inches wide along those wings, so he is very tiny. Even though I will be switching these out for gemstones, I did cut the tiny little eyepieces, the circles, just to show you how incredibly tiny they do cut if you do it at this size. The Cricut does an amazing job at cutting them even though they are this small, so just bear in mind these ones that go right on the edge of the eyes and the antenna on the butterfly, they are pretty tiny. Earlier in the video I was talking about how these appear like they've got lots of depth in them even when they are just glued. So because I've cut mine small, I will be doing mostly gluing rather than foam squares. So this is all the bits of the wing stacked one on top of each other. You see if I turn it, how much dimension it gets just naturally from those 5-ish sheets of cardstock without having to use any foam squares. If I had used some foam squares, perhaps between the feet and that first layer of the wings, I think it would look too dramatic on something this small. There'd be too much gap and it would just not quite look right. But if you had cut this really big and you're putting it in a shadow box, or you just made it big because you wanted it to be big, then in that instance, have a look at the assembly guide, because if it's big, then I do recommend the foam squares between the legs and the bottom of the wings. So this is one of those projects that's a little bit different depending on the size you cut it out at. But for this one, I am just going to be gluing. So I've got my very bottom layer, which is the gold with the wings. And then next up, let's turn those upside down. I've got the solid layer in my silver to be glued on. Because the mirror card is thick, you do want a good amount of glue on here. And with mirror card, the glue can take longer to dry, especially when you're putting it onto mirror card. So because this is going onto that shiny gold, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry than it would on regular cardstock, which kind of works out in our favour because it means we've got wiggle room to make sure that it is perfectly aligned where we want it to go. And then I've got the rest of the wings all to glue. So we've got the blue layer first, then the gold with the big teardrop shapes, then the darker blue, then the other gold colour with all of the teardrops, and then finally the outline. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all of these in that order. Here are all the pieces of the wing now glued together. It's still drying, so I'm being a little bit careful with it, but you can see all of those pretty colours of the different metallics coming through. It's a little bit hard on camera to see the difference in the two golds that I've used, but in real life it is obvious which one is which. Next up, we'll do the middle of the dragonfly, and we're starting with this gold bit, and for this one I will add some foam squares because I want that body to look like it's popping out of the wings. If your foam squares are big, then you might need to cut them smaller with scissors to fit inside, but mine are just perfect. Peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath, like that, and then stick it onto the design. There. Now we've got that little bit of dimension to pull the body out. Then the next bits will all be glued, starting with the solid green. This goes kind of in the middle of that gold bit. So there'll be a border of gold around the outside. It's hard to show when it's so shiny. My camera's struggling with focusing on it. Hopefully you can see okay. And next up, it's the green with the little holes. That sits snugly on top of the other green. Ooh, just wiggled that bottom one out of position where the glue is still wet. It's so slippery when you're doing mirror card on mirror card. There we go. Now the next one is kind of tricky to glue, which is the outline of the dragonfly body. It's very thin, so be careful, just dab it with the tiniest bits of glue. This is where the Burley Art glue is very helpful with its thin nozzle. And then push down really gently because we don't want the glue to smush out. Keep an eye on it because it is so thin it might try and come apart and kind of curl upwards until that glue is dry. So just watch it, make sure it doesn't do that. Next up, we've got the blue circle which goes in between the eyes. I'm going to add a bit of glue directly onto the design there and then put that into place there. And then next up it would be the eyes, so we've got the gold and then the teeny tiny little pink bits, but I'm going to use gemstones for the eyes, so I'm going to leave those off and do the bit here instead. Now for this one you can either glue it or you could use a foam square for the bottom. I think I'll do that because then it will help raise it above the blue. So the solid layer of the pink goes on that foam square. It will help make it look like it's got a super big gemstone on it. And then we've got the pink rim around the edge. Very carefully balanced. And then again, another really narrow one. Tiny bit of glue. And it goes around the edge. Like that. So now I've done that, I'm going to pick out my gemstones for the eyes. Here's my box of all of them. You don't have to do them exactly the same size if you don't have it. I'm going to try and find a gold that is about the same size. Possibly these ones. They're not that goldy though, and they're not quite big enough. I could end up doing a different colour. I'm going to have a rummage. Here we go so you can see a bit better. See what we've got. I'm not sure I've got a lot of gold. These ones would be quite nice for the middle bits because there are some ovals in here. So instead of the oval, let's move that because now my camera's just all blurry. Instead of the oval there, I could maybe have put an oval from in here, or I could still do that maybe and put it in the middle. Okay, I can't find a gold that I'm happy with, so I'm going to use these purple ones instead. the biggest ones on here. Stick one in the middle of each eye. There, that adds to that gemstone effect. I will also add one of my oval ones. It's very small. Into the middle of the oval on the top. A little bit of glue, because these ones are not self-adhesive. And put that over. It does cover up that other colour, but I think it's nicer with that in there. And then I'll match some of these little ones into some of the bits here. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so bad with tweezers, because that would probably make this overall a lot easier, but I cannot use tweezers at all. I'm trying to keep it symmetrical on both of the wings, and I'm just going for the darker blue because the lighter blue's already got that nice little silver cut out on it. I don't want to end up covering all of that up. And probably one in those top bits. Will that fit? Yeah. Not sure if you could see what I was doing or not then with my hands in the way, but there it is. With those gemstones added. Don't think the camera's doing it justice, but in real life that is really, really pretty. And that's the dragonfly done. Next up, I'll do the butterfly, and the first bits for the wings will all be glued. So we've got the white or silver first, then a light blue, then a dark blue, then purple, then the first gold layer, then the second gold layer that's in the other shade of gold, and finally the border. So glue all those together in that exact same order. Here's all those pieces glued. Again, like the dragonfly, it's quite thick. And now we've got the body. I use foam squares for the body one. Be careful not to do what I just did and bend the antenna, as they are narrow. That one in the middle. Then there's the gold to glue on top. Then we've got the gemstone, or the eyes, up to you. I'm going to do the eyes with my actual sticky gems. I'll go foam square. Oh, that's not dry, it's all wiggling about. Because I bent that green. It's not wanting to stay attached to the gold. You have to be careful. There we are. And then the outline. There. Then the thinnest bit for this butterfly, which is the edge of that gem. Ooh, that wasn't very clever, was it? And then, just like before, you can embellish with gemstones. Yeah, keep this the same as the dragonfly and put one of my oval teardroppy shaped ones in the middle. And get it straight after I just dropped it. And then I've got some biggish silver sticky gems for the antennas. If you're not using these, there are the little circles to glue on instead that will have cut. Now, and then I've got these, which are absolutely minuscule, that I think some of the pink ones will look nice in some of the little holes in the wings, and they should fit in those gaps. Oh, they might not. I might need glue. I'll see. Okay, there's my gemstones, and I like how they look on this one. I mean, I like them on the dragonfly too, but for this one, because the gaps were quite big in the card with the different layers, I was able to push the gemstones in quite a long way, so it does look like they have been set in metal rather than they're just stuck on top on those wings, which is a really pretty effect. That's butterfly done, just bumblebee to go. Here's Mr. Bumblebee all ready to be stuck together. I put all the pieces that cut out on just so that you could see, but once again I'll be replacing some of them with my sticky plastic gemstones, so I won't be doing the top blue bits on the eyes. Oh, I didn't mean to move all that. Or the 3 little silver bits on his back. I'll be replacing them. Everything else will be done as is. The bumblebee is a little bit more difficult to put together because it sort of builds up as 2 parts. The wings and the body are separate. Let's move these bits apart. And we start with the body here and then the base of the wings to go on top. If you're making this big, this would be a foam square layer, but as I'm doing it at the tiny little size, it will be glued. Then on top of that is the body layer in gold to be glued on also. Then there's this little piece in the other shade of gold. This is glued along the top of the body bit before the eyes to add a little bit more variation in all of the gold. It goes along like that, so you see a little bit of the original colour at the very top. Next up, we'll do the body, and these are all going to be glued for me, starting with the darker one here. Sits in the middle, so you've got a nice amount of the gold showing all the way around the edge. Then the other green. Just moved that bottom one. Then the gold outline on top. Now next up, you can either do the gems, the 3 along there, or the big one, the big diamond. I'm going to add my little gems next because I think that'll be easier to do before the diamond goes on. Got some silver ones this time. I didn't have any oval gems. I'm going with circles, but I think that'll look nice. This is where I really wish I could use tweezers again. I keep saying that, but it's so true. That looks nice, just in the middle. Oh, my middle one isn't very middly. If I try and drag it though, it's going to move all my bits of cardstock where the glue's not dry. So I'm going to just leave it, it's fine. Okay, next up, the diamond on the back with a foam square for the bottom layer, which is the solid one. Ooh, here we go. Done that from a little bit of holographic card. It looks rainbow when the light shines on it. I did not put that on there very well. There. Then the blue bit, and then the gold on top. There, looking lovely. It would be if I'd have lined that up. There we go. Okay, next the wings, and the bottom layer of the wings is the solid one. This will be done with a foam square. Then it will be the darker green to glue, and then the gold to also glue. Start up with the foam squares. The edge of the gemstone bit, this middle bit, will overlap the body of the bee a little bit. And then the gluing. For the eyes, if you can fit it, use a foam square to put on the bottom gold pieces. Remember, you can cut it smaller if you need to. That'll help them stand out. Try not to move my wings because the glue's still drying. One there, and then one there, and then instead of the blue circles that cut out, I'm going to use these blue gems. Which size? I'm going to go for that one. I like that. It's got a lot of character. And then finally the gemstone on the back will match this to how we've done all the other ones. So we've got foam for the bit in the middle and then glue for the other two on top. This is the biggest one out of all the middle focal points, so it's the easiest to stick because it's all a little bit thicker than it was on the dragonfly and the butterfly. Means this bit is also thicker, which is great. And then once again, so he matches my other ones, I'll put one of my other gems, these ones, right in the middle. I don't think he needs any other gems. I think he's nice, just nice and minimalist like that one. And that's the bumblebee done as well. So now we've got bumblebee finished. There's all his depth and dimension. The dragonfly that we did first. And the butterfly. And I did go back and add a few more gemstones around the edge of the butterfly. So there's loads on there now. It's hard to show on camera, so I'm sorry that was a little bit blurry, but there we go. Our 3 jewellery inspired insects all done. They would now be ready to add some magnetic strips on the back or some little button magnets if you want to put them on your refrigerator, or you could glue on a badge or a brooch fitting if you want to be wearing them, or they'll go nicely on a card. They are maybe a little bit thick for a scrapbook page, but it depends on sort of your preferences for how thick you like things to go. But on a card they would be really nice, or you could even just add some blue tack or something similar on the back and put them around a window or around your computer screen or on a wall. The possibilities for using them really are endless, but they're so pretty. The camera is not doing them justice at all. They're really beautiful, and I hope that you like them as much as I do. And now I need to go wash my hands because with all of those tiny pieces, they are absolutely covered in glue. I hope that you enjoyed making these beautiful jewellery-inspired insects with me today. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and paper craft fun. I hope to see you again tomorrow for day 13 of the Spring Craft Countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!